If you're a non-white man in America, black man, Asian man, Hispanic, non-white, have you ever been accused of mansplaining or toxic masculinity or male privilege? Because you might want to pay attention to this video. I'm talking about the controversy with Joe Rogan talking about white men being silenced in America and not being allowed to speak. And there's big controversy over that. Don Lemon at CNN came back and criticized him, and there's all this backlash on Twitter. But here's the thing. I'm actually going to agree with Joe Rogan. I mean, obviously white men are not being silenced completely because I had this channel and so does he. But I do think there is a kind of cultural backlash against white men from having opinions. But I'm going to expand that because I actually don't think it's just limited to white males. I think that men in general have this problem. In media, you do see a lot of negative energy and hostility directed towards white males. And Joe definitely does have a point. There is a specific kind of backlash and bigotry and dislike against white men that's almost like a fad or almost like a cult. But it's not just white men, because you have this language directed towards all men, quite literally. You see things like this in the media and social media all the time. So let me go back to the question I asked in the beginning of the video. If you're a non-white male in America, black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, and not just American, anywhere in the world, have you ever been told that something you said was wrong because you're a male? Or because you're a male, your opinion is no longer valid? Or you're privileged and you should take a back seat? Or you shouldn't speak about this particular thing because it's not about you and you're a man, so you don't have. You probably have. And the issues that the men's rights movement talks about, as I'm always saying, affects men of all races. Domestic violence, the way that when a man is being hurt by his partner or his girlfriend's hitting him or slapping him, is considered funny by a lot of people. It happens to men all the time. And I've been preaching videos about that stuff all the time happening to Instagrammers, rappers, etc. Like homeless men happens to men of all races. Incarceration. Men are more likely to go to prison for the same crime and get longer sentences. And that's even worse for men of color. Education rates. It's worse for men of all races. Men are less likely to go to college no matter what race they are. Men of all races are less likely to be employed, more likely to be unemployed. Men of all races die younger and have lower life expectancies. It is not just white men who get called misogynist, incel, alt-right, all that for talking about men's issues or for having any criticism of feminism or any criticism of social justice in any way. Believe me, it can happen to black men, Asian. I've seen it. I'll never forget. I've been in MRA groups for a long time. I've been in debates for a long time, and I see this happen all the time. So what do I think about what Joe Rogan said? I definitely do think that for some people, they see white men at the very, very bottom, or maybe the very, very top of being problematic, and the very worst kinds of people, or the most privileged kinds of people who deserve the most criticism. Some people, not everybody, but I do think that does exist to an extent. But I also think that you can absolutely extend that and expand that for other men too, of all races, all around the world. And it's something that I've seen and I've heard other men talk about experiencing. And it's something that you can see on social media all the time, just toxicity and negativity towards men and masculinity and everything else. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And again, just to clarify, I'm not saying I completely agree with everything he's saying about how white men won't be allowed to go outside soon. But I do think there's a lot of scary stuff out there when you start paying attention. And there is this hostility and this bias against men and maleness. And when you start paying attention in the media, you kind of see it's everywhere. And I've done videos before about why teenage boys are, coming into men's rights movements and men's groups. And it's because of things that they're seeing at school, things they're seeing on TV, the things their teachers are telling them. So when you start paying attention, it's definitely there. And it's definitely concerning.